speaking of fans, I got one letter I got to read before we talk about it. We're going to have a few political things and we're going to get back to wrestling. But Mike, one of the members of the cult of Cornette, sent me an email that said that this topic might be worthy of podcast discussion. And Brian, we haven't even talked about politics since you've been on the program, but he asks, do these Trump voters actually think that this entitled trust fund baby, whose career has mostly consisted of providing luxuries to the 1%, is actually going to do anything for them? The average Trump supporter wouldn't even be allowed to set foot in one of his resorts. Donald Trump ranks as one of the least charitable billionaires on the planet. This is actually, and he provides a link. I can't give you the link verbally, but I checked it out, and according to newsexaminer.net, if you want to look that up, Donald Trump does rank as one of the least charitable billionaires. And Mike says, Vince McMahon is more charitable than Trump, but if that doesn't trigger some soul searching in a person, I don't know what would. If Trump actually wins, he'll use the office as a platform to help lower taxes even more for himself and his buddies and further deregulate industry guaranteed. It's mind-boggling that any working class person would support the guy. P.S. Some listeners might be looking for things to give up for Lent. I suggest they give up religion. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate that, and we hope that everybody takes it to heart. Can you imagine Donald Trump giving a cripple crab a crutch? He's a fucking billionaire. This is what the problem is to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the problem is inherent in being a billionaire. I think the problem is inherent in, he can't give specifics, and it's something that's followed him throughout his life. They say, how are you going to get Mexico to build that wall? And he goes, trust me, we will. And, how are you going to take care of all this? Trust me, I built a great company. I have great people working for me. I'll do it. And,
I'm going to be great. You're going to love me. Yeah, that's actually what he said. He said one time they asked him a question, how are you going to do this? He said, I'm going to be great. You're going to love me at this. What the fuck?
And, there's a great documentary anyone can access. It's on Vimeo. If you put it in a search, it'll come up. It's called Trump, What's the Deal? And it goes into, this is the same stuff he pulled in Atlantic City, where he said, before the casino board, don't worry, the banks are going to work with me because I'm Trump and they think I'm great because I'm great and I'm Trump. And everything he said was going to happen with such confidence didn't happen, and his business went bankrupt there. And it's just, I think people like confidence, people like power, and he is a masterful worker. He may be the greatest worker in the history of politics so far with his success. But
he's a pro wrestling heel. Well, you live up there. Is Atlantic City still a shithole?
It is a shithole. I don't think much will change. I believe he is no longer involved actively with any of the Trump casinos. He was removed from the board of directors, and I think some of it may be, he realized he had to get distance because that's one of the big failures. I mean, look, he has a list of failures: Trump steaks, Trump water, Trump the board game. Just one after another. I mean, he had. There's another great documentary about his battle with the people in Scotland, where he tried to just, bully these people, not necessarily eminent domain, but
the Scottish are not easy to bully either.
Well, it's a documentary on Netflix about how he wanted to build a golf course and these people wouldn't move. They wouldn't budge. And they started putting up large signs on their properties, Trump go home and Trump is the devil and all this stuff. And, it's hysterical. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. He's still threatening to run as an independent if, as he puts it, they're not fair to him. I'm not exactly sure what fair is. But as I said at the beginning, I don't think being a billionaire or being rich is inherently wrong. Although when you're born filthy rich, when you're born on third base and you think you hit a triple, that's a problem. And it's if he runs as an independent, it's going to split the Republican vote for sure. And it'll take a little bit out of the Democrats, too.
Well, that's what I thought at the beginning, and I guess I need to correct myself again because I made a mistake here on the program. I thought that he was running at first simply because he could cut the promo to where a bunch of these knuckleheads and people who don't actually check into things like facts and reality would say, oh, yeah, boy, he's going to do great. And I thought he was trying to use it as leverage to get something out of the Republican Party to go away so that they could have their real election. I didn't dream in a million years that he actually thought that he could be president or would want to be president. But now I'm assuming that whatever monetary or financial value that he could get out of going away has been replaced in his mind by the ego that he's got, that he thinks that he could actually run this fucking country and do this shit that he's talking about. And the problem is he could probably do the shit that he's talking about that would cause the most harm. He just can't do any of the things he's talking about that could actually help anybody.
Right. And, I think the other part of the problem is is the field he's running against, because for the most part, none of them have been able to display them, whether you agree with them or not.
I'll tell you, the starter's gun went off and it shot my horse. What a field,
Well, no, I mean, here's the thing. I think Kasich is interesting because he at least is not just coming out there and ripping everyone, but he labeled George Bush as weak, and George Bush, you know what? The electorate went with that. They now believe he's weak. Jeb Bush, excuse me.
Yeah, well, if I forgive you for having the other Bush on your mind.
Yeah, well, he's in the news, but every single person, I mean, he's not really running against a great field. Marco Rubio has been exposed as really just being a trained politician, someone who's memorized lines and spits them out. Ted Cruz, I mean, he's a liar. The way they're labeling him is true. He's someone who says different things at different times and has run a somewhat scandalous campaign with all the lies he's put out about everyone in his path. And then there's Ben Carson, who I just think really doesn't have any kind of shot to go up in the polls. So
how can he be a brain surgeon and yet have no brain to speak of? That's what, he has none of his own. He just works on other people's.
Well, my big thing is, how could he be a brain surgeon? He can't open his eyes. His eyes are always closed. Open your eyes.
Hey, if you're a Republican, it's best that you go around with your eyes closed. And here's as Bolin would say, Trump has managed to submerge past the rest of the GOP field simply because of the lack of, as you said, lack of quality of opposition. And now they want to stack the Supreme Court. It was a big news last weekend. Justice Scalia found dead in a resort, poor fellow. I'm not making mockery of his death, but I guess if you have to die of a heart attack at the age of 79 or whatever, a fancy resort's the place to do it. But now,
no autopsy, and they found a pillow over his head. Something's up there. I'm serious. They found him with a pillow over his head, and there's no autopsy.
Was Trump in the same resort? We got to check on that, because now here's the thing. Now they're saying, oh, Obama. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you're a very intelligent person. It is the constitutional duty of the President of the United States, when an opening comes on the Supreme Court, to nominate the person that he feels is best for the job, and then it goes through the various approval committees and et cetera, and Congress votes and all that stuff and everything. They don't even want Obama, who, by the way, is a constitutional law professor, Harvard educated. He ought to know. They don't want Obama to nominate anyone for the next 10 months until a new president gets in, because that way they well, maybe we got a shot at winning and we'll stack the deck.
Well, I think there's a few interesting things at play here. One of them is, they're making this bet, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But if the Republican Party loses, then we're going to have a real problem, because now they put their foot in the ground. They say, we're not moving. And then if Bernie or Hillary become president and they have to nominate the next Supreme Court justice, there's going to be a big issue there. Now, in terms of what's going on here, the Republican Party, now they've kind of pivoted, and all the candidates are basically just admitting this is politics. We're just doing this as a political tool. We're going to block him. But at first they were trying to cite the Thurman rule, which is an unofficial rule that Strom Thurmond in 1968 said that he didn't want. And it wasn't even.
And Strom Thurmond, there was a champion of people's rights, by the way, Senator Strom Thurmond.
Yeah, but that wasn't even to nominate a Supreme Court judge. That was for one of the Supreme Court justices to become the Chief Justice. So someone who was already on the court to be boosted to the role of Chief Justice. So, I mean, well,
basically it comes down to, once again, there are enough suckers in this country that believe this Republican horseshit. They talk about the Constitution and they talk about people's rights and freedoms, except when it contradicts what they want the Constitution to say, or the freedoms that they want people to have or not have, or that they don't agree with. So it doesn't even matter if the president now, which he will nominate someone, he will do what he's supposed to do per the Constitution, and then the Republicans will do everything they can to block it. Cruz has already said that he's going to filibuster it, which, hearing Ted Cruz speak for any length of time is a threat to be taken seriously. But folks, it's the luck of the draw. When a Supreme Court justice dies, if it's a Democratic president, we get somebody nominated who will make some sane, reasonable decisions to try to help people. And if it's a Republican president, we'll get some Cro-Magnon caveman that's going to try to take away people's abortion rights. They're going to try to fuck with our health care. They're going to ask God to save the planet from climate change, and they're going to slingshot us back to the Bronze Age. That's the way that this shit works. So this time we got lucky, and a vacancy came up when we have a Democratic president and we have some sane people in charge. And even though the Republicans will try to block it, he's not doing anything that he's not supposed to be doing. And once again, this wouldn't have come up in any other era, except that it's become so fucking foolish that these people will not let go of this insanity. He's won 2 elections. He's the president of the fucking United States. Most people agree that we should move forward instead of backwards. And the Supreme Court is a very important tool, stature, whatever, in moving people forward or backwards. So if you get a bunch of fucking old white religious fucks that don't believe that anybody should move forward, then we get stuck until they die. Nobody ever quits. They die. Yeah, they've got term limits on the president, but you can be on the Supreme Court and make laws if you live to be 114.
Yeah, I think, part of the problem is whether the president is a Republican or Democrat. You can't start saying that, the last year of the presidency, he's not supposed to do that. What other parts of his job is he not supposed to do there in the last year of his presidency?
Yeah.
And, the argument that I don't like is the one where we should let the American people decide. They did decide. They voted for the guy twice. They voted for him to complete his term, not to work 7 years and then go to Camp David. So it'll be interesting.
Is it my imagination that most people are for all the things that another conservative judge would take away from us anyway? So the people have voted, they have spoken, the polls say this, the elections say that. They just can't get over it. You lost. Republican, you've already fucking lost. You've got a bunch of nuts running for the highest office, not only in the land, but to be the leader of the free world. Fucking people that couldn't pass a goddamn mental examination if they tried. A psychological evaluation, and you've already established yourselves as being the party of no, the party of fucking blockading shit, the party of fucking trying to take away anybody's rights and freedoms in the name of rights and freedoms, and now you're making fucking fools out of yourselves again. Please go away and draw. And in one of those only in America type stories, the land of the free and the home of the brave, Jeb actually lifted the rock up.
and he's been hesitant to do it.
Johnson. I'm not talking about Dwayne Johnson. He lifted the rock up and let his brother out from under it, to endorse him to be. And some people were happy about it. I know it's South Carolina, but fuck, it's 2016. Have we not figured this out yet? Here, what is their campaign slogan here now? Unnecessary wars, trillions of dollars of debt, thousands of Americans killed, and many more maimed. Families torn apart, global economic calamity, millions of Americans' retirement funds ruined, America being a worldwide laughingstock. We need some more of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that gets me. I'm someone who, other than the comedic value, and I thought he was a comedic genius, I don't think George Bush was in any way anything close to a good president. And when the thing that drives me crazy, and this is where I'll give Trump credit, and I think Trump speaks to more of the Republican Party than people realize when he says this, when he points out George Bush didn't keep us at 9/11 happened under his watch, but I would go further. Katrina happened under his watch. The economy went down under his watch. Destabilizing the Middle East, which in turn destabilized the entire world, happened under his watch.
He created ISIS.
Yeah, I mean, so just the whole "he kept us safe" thing, and it just drives me crazy because that's the very last thing his administration did. And I think if you look at it objectively, that's the only way you can come to. It's the only conclusion you can come to.
I got to get to the Jake Roberts story because we got a lot of this thing.
Nice transition there. Nice transition.
No, but I'm gonna say one more thing. Anybody who thinks that you should elect another Bush to any kind of public office, including fucking dog catcher of Houma, Louisiana, those people should not have the right to vote. They shouldn't be allowed to breed in this day and age with what we fucking know, what we've proven. And why not just bring Dick Cheney back out of wherever where do they put fucking he's starring. He's starring on network television, Lucifer, every Monday night on the network.
One of the funniest lines in the debate the other night was, Jeb is now getting defensive. He's, Donald Trump's been saying these things about my family. My mother's a saint. And Trump jumps in. He goes, well, then she should be running.
If you're going to set it up like T-ball for these fucking people, Anyway, I'm gobsmacked. I'm gobsmacked. That's the last thing that we need. We don't need more Republicans. We don't need more Bushes. We don't need more of any of that shit. We had enough. Fuck. How long does it take you people to look at a horseshoe, as the old joke goes? I won't even tell you the joke.